Welcome back, and today is August 11th, and it is actually 11:33, so 11:11. We are having Natural American Spirit Blacks, one of the strongest cigarette that you can get your hands on in America, and we'll be talking about SPX6900, a beautiful experiment. And I went to like 2 different gas stations, and then I was like, fuck, man, maybe we just don't have them here. And I looked around and I was like, maybe I'll never get my hands on these, but got my hands on them. So let's get this open. It is considered one of the strongest cigarettes that you can get your hands on. So we'll be doing a review and talking about SPX6900 while we smoke it. So let's get it out. Get the cellophane off. Boom. ASMR. And of course, we're sipping on a little bit of Auto Heal today. No coffee, because I already had coffee. So yeah, if I do say so myself, this is probably one of the best looking packages. I just don't know what it is. Just something about the black, red, and white. It just, it's just a good looking package. So let's get it open. Boom, like so. And as you can see, it has a little bit of that Thunderbird. And let's get it open. Fairly clean rip. And right off the flavor is just super strong. It's got that sourness. I don't know how to describe this. It's like sour. It's like a very tart kind of. Dude, I really don't know how to describe this. The only way I can kind of explain it is it's like drinking coffee that's really light. You know that sour taste, right? Anyways, let's get one of these out and let's have a little buzz. I say little buzz, but I'm expecting a pretty big buzz. American Spirit. And let's get the lighter. Do a final smell test. It's interesting, I can't get much off of it here as I did in the pack. But that smell has like a sweet undertone, if that makes sense. Of course, it's a cork style filter and it has 1 line of perforation, but it's like very small dots. So it's a full cigarette. Let's light it up. Usually when you smoke an American Spirit, it just feels like smoke, It just feels super clean. Marlboro has that distinct flavor where you can taste the tobacco. It's their, secret. But this, it's from what I gathered, it has 10% of Perique tobacco, and then 90%, I believe it's Virginia blend. Quite interesting. I'm not getting much of a body at the moment, but exhaling some through the nose to get that flavor, because Perique tobacco is actually used in pipe tobacco as well, I heard. Man, the buzz is already kind of coming in and definitely has that throat kick, man. It's yeah. This is it's gonna have a little kick. But yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I know much about Bitcoin, but I'm educating myself daily, and not just from my ideas of it or what I've come across, but really just look at things with fresh eyes. And it's really interesting to me that Bitcoin, it has multiple meaning to it. In the same way SPX6900 has multiple meanings to it. But the distinction lies in the fact that Bitcoin, it seems to be coming at a time where it's necessary. It's a necessity of this incoherent fiat system where, you know, if the economy is in recession, we just pump money into it, and then a little bit of growth, and then back at it again. And in some ways, that's really incoherent. And so Bitcoin came along as this technology where you may not trust the individual, but the system itself, the blockchain. I mean, I'm not really good at math, but it seems to me like perfect math, you know. And that's so interesting because the underlying theme is like it came at a time where it was necessary. And, you know, I don't need to wax poetically to see that, you know, my generation, the current arrangement, it doesn't serve us. And therefore, system is clearly broken. My God, do I love this flavor. Oh my God. It has a bit of a bitterness, but it's like sweet. The sweetness you get after, it's like the aftertaste. American Spirit Black. Let's grab its little thumbnail, shall we? You know what? Take this opportunity to hold this as well. Should be good. I am picky. For the sake of the video, for the sake of you and me, I'm not gonna just fucking, you know. But what's interesting to me is like, in my interest of J. Krishnamurti, and David Bohm, and seeing not just that SPX is gonna fix everything or that it's gonna save Gen Z, that it's like a vehicle for, you know, dissatisfaction, but see the phenomena, like the necessity, the humanness in it. And that, it just, for lack of a better word, just intrigues me, you know? It's a strong cigarette, man. But I like it, because I don't want to be chain smoking. I don't want to be having 4 or 5 of these a day. Just want to have 1 or 2. Tranquilo, I'm good. And kind of lost my train of thought. But what I was gonna say is, like, in my interest of Krishnamurti and David Bohm, he was a physicist, a legit scientist, and he said that the proprioception of thought, that there's some insight to that, you know? But if you were to say, like, you can do it and you can get somewhere, and that this is a way, immediately, and he also said this as well, that the reflex of thought just clicks in and says, how do I do it, right? And so with everything outside of us, it's something we can do, something like a routine. And in the same way, if we could look at Gen Z, right? You know, our senses. Unfortunately, we are so degenerate that what we see, smell, taste, touch, all that is being misused by the elites and the technology. And so we see a beautiful girl and we watch pornography. We see someone who seems to be really wealthy and have a good life, but we don't really know what went through their trauma, their own upbringing. We don't know any of that, but we see it and we say, oh, don't have that. And so obviously there's going to be generational turmoil, you know, the boomers versus the Gen Z and so on and so on. And in the same way, David Bohm said proprioception is the whole organism, not just thought being up in your head, but the body itself and the sensation of the body. And that I understand it's so difficult to do, but it's easy to say. You know, I'm sitting here smoking a little cigarette, having a little buzz. But believe me, you know, in my own life, I do this. And you can do it too. And I really mean that. I mean that whatever you're going through, observing, staying with it, is how you dissipate that. And so, naturally suffering comes about. Naturally anxiety, depression, all these wave of emotions that we all feel. And Gen Z, you know, is going through this maze. And so it's easy to distract ourselves with work. It's easy to distract ourselves with the routine, you know. I'd rather just fucking work my ass off, go to the gym, and not have to sit with my thoughts and think about these things. But as a friend, as someone who has done some of that, I'm telling you, man, the beauty of Bitcoin and the beauty of SPX, it's coming at a time of necessity, a time of great necessity. So I'm not saying that it's going to fix everything. I'm not saying that it's going to even go up to trillions. But what I am saying is that it's not just a meme coin. On the surface it is, but there's something deeper, and it can't be dismissed. And proprioception, that sixth sense, you can feel it. You know it. You know, when you're walking, you don't really look at your foot, right? But a baby might kind of, you know, but eventually you have a sense of it. Say you're sleeping and your body turns to a different position. You know exactly what position it is. That intelligence takes over and you see it, and it's not the thought. Another example, someone can move your arm while your eyes is closed, while your eyes are closed. And you have a sense of where your arm is in relation. And that sense immediately thought, because of our senses, assumes that there is an independent person right here and the external world. But like a fish who doesn't separate itself from water, can you sit with your own thoughts and not try to separate yourself from it? And that might be a bit of an insight that vibe merchant, creek dweller, Asian guy might have stumbled across. By the way, phenomenal cigarette. I know you shouldn't smoke it, but I've went cold turkey on coffee, so maybe one of these days this will drop too. But to stay in kind of the topic of that, you know, Bitcoin came out of a time of necessity. And the more and more I learn about it, the more I see the beauty of it, the more I see the intrinsic value of it. And I'm not talking in sense that it'll go to 100K, 200K, a million a coin. I'm more interested in under the hood, so to speak. And in this environment of Gen Z, you know, the old-fashioned life of the normal route. You're 18, go to college, get a good job, and you invest a bit of it, and by the time you're 50 or 60, you're good. Anybody who cares deeply, you can see that that's not the path. You can see that that's, so You have girls doing OnlyFans. You have guys gambling. Just all seems so wrong. Buzz from this is so nice. I much prefer a stronger cigarette because, like I said, I only want to have a few and really enjoy it. But yeah, man, like, ordinarily thought creates this fragment, a reflection. And you may have this question, okay, I'm observing my thoughts, right? But even that statement alone says, I am observing it. So now, there's a thought, and there's something that is observing it. But what is observing that? And it just becomes a paradox where you can see that this illusion of the self, intelligence, has insight into that. And the intelligence, you know, I don't want to jump too far because this is very logical. Intelligence is nowhere out here or here, it's everything, you know? Boehm said something like, if you see a whirlpool, and you see another one, they both look independent of each other, but when they come together and become one whirlpool, what is that? And then even that whirlpool is in a greater ocean of this water, so therefore it's not really independent. But thought creates this illusion of the self that you always have to act on it, right? But believe me, it's much easier said than done. But you can do it. You can sit and really allow all of it to flower, and therefore become, man, even that word, right, become implies time. But you can be a person who doesn't run away, doesn't escape into games, into gambling. And with that energy, can you look at SPX6900? Can you see the beauty? Not that it's gonna go up, not that, you know, you're looking for some return, but see the beauty of it, you know? And then you can use thought and you can see everything and you can quantify it. And there's a great quant, and you know, he's done an incredible job. His name is Beck. I'll link some of the data he has brilliantly put together. And he's not looking for attention. He does it because he's genuinely interested. He's genuinely looking at this. Because, you know, we're saying all these things about SPX. He's like, let me see if the numbers prove it, the math behind it. And you can see SPX6900 has the best number in terms of holder percentages across varying wallets, from small to the whales. You can see that the supply is shrinking. And you know, you just gotta wonder, like, when the tide comes back, right? Is it that every boat rises equally? Or is it that the ones with the supply constraint just pulls that kind of a Doge-like move, you know? And that's not being delusional. That's not being someone who says, I'm gambling on this. It's seeing something asymmetric, seeing something so real that one wonders, like, would it be the funniest thing to say, yeah, from a meme coin, everything else unfolded? I don't know, but there's some beauty to that. And that is my sermon of the day. Peace.